Alright, now we have a really important tendon to talk about. Let me locate this facing this way, because that's where you're going to get most of your reference. There is a tendon stretching essentially from the head of your humerus to your wrist. Okay? And that tendon is really important because, I mean, you're going to see this. In fact, let's do it this way. You're always going to see it in front of that wrist or elbow. The tendon is going to move from one to the other and then also connect here in the radius and ulna group. It is going to originate with a muscle and then transition. So it's essentially our human tensor fascia latae in a certain way, and its name is even close. It's called the tensor propatopatias. All right, I hope you got that. Tensor. I'm gonna spell it for you so that you write this down and you Google this, because this is going to be important. You're going to need to put this in at some point, and that's what you're talking about. Okay? So this muscle is connecting to a tendon which is wrapping around an even part of your first finger. That's happening in there, and it's a significant part of making the mechanism work. So how are we going to do that? Probably with a combination. I definitely want curved tubes at this point, but I definitely want to say as a line and no bend. And I'm just going to pull from one point to the other point, like that. Then switch over to rotate. And there you go. Okay. Inflate brush with a sharp focal shift. And let's just inflate that. There you go. Okay, that tendon's going to be, like I said, real significant, but don't forget there's another part of that. So let's delete this curve. Okay, so I don't have to worry about it. And we're going to take this tendon and come back here. Okay, and delete that tendon. The next group that we're going to put in are going to be the flexors and the extensors, okay, of the forearm. So just like us. So we got to put those muscles in that are going to be affecting the hand, really, because what they're doing is flexing and extending the hand. And the hand in this case happens to be where the primary wings are coming from, right? So let's keep this real simple. And I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at this from a back view, and I'm looking at the left wing. And there's a reason why I'm doing that, and that's because I want to make it easier for you in terms of reference. So this is a view that you can find in Elliot Goldfinger in his Animal Anatomy for Artists. Okay, you'll see that. It's page 221, at least in the edition I have. So you can flip to that and get a little bit more information in terms of how these muscles are kind of organized. So real simply, we're going to have the extensors in the front. We're going to have the flexors in the back. Okay, we're going to have the flexor carpi ulnaris back here. We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff. The extensor digitorum, the extensor, they're called different things. But we're just going to have a bunch of other stuff that's going to be happening up here and moving down to the fingers with tendons and all of that. again, we're going to do it real simply. Okay, the standard brush, move brush, just like that. Okay, I'm top view here just so you know, but I'm going to be, well, you know what, let's not do that. I want to keep this clean, okay, so you can easily follow it. I'm going to just inflate, so I get a little bit more volume there, come up to that tendon, and then we might just come in with, say, snake hook, and pull out like that. Yeah, quite nice, right? And now we can use the move brush and just move it in and make sure we have some general range. And they're of course going to be coming from the epicondyle of the humerus, and that's exactly where they're coming from in a human. So in a human, you're going to have the humerus coming down, then you're going to have the ulna, you're going to have the radius, okay, the hand, all that stuff. And the extensors are going to be coming from the epicondyle and moving down to the back of the hand, whereas the flexors are coming from the medial epicondyle and moving to the palm of the hand. Do we need to add a little bit of volume? I might say put a touch more volume in the front, touch less volume there, and then just pull it back. Cool. Once you've done that, now it's time to go in and put some of those flexors. Okay, but this is going to point out a little bit of a conundrum. So keep your extensors on the top because they're really coming from that epicondyle. So we don't have transparency, but we do have the ability to isolate these guys. There we go. So really, you may want to get in and just kind of be a little bit more. There you go. Okay, now again, move brush, move it to that other epicondyle, the medial epicondyle, which doesn't have the same meaning here per se. Okay, and move them to the other side of the radius. And this will point out, you know, maybe we can take the extensors, just forgot which brush I was going to use, and pull them to the other side of this radius as well, just to get that sense of crisscross. Okay, snake hook, and in fact you should probably show everything at this point. So wherever that one tendon is for the extensors, I'm going to just put the flexors in the bottom. Now again, I'm not being specific, I'm just being general in terms of what a flexor would do. Well, there you go. Nice and simple, but we've got some extensors and some flexors, and they're following a couple of rules. Okay, they are originating at the humerus and specifically the epicondyles. Okay, that's really important. And they're originating on either one. So A and B. All right, and then they are inserting into opposite sides of the hand. Okay, and that's just to help facilitate the common knowledge we have when we look at our own hand. Okay, and again, this is a simplification because all we're looking at is flexion and extension, or flexors, extensors, extensors, extensors. You start teaching anatomy for so long, these extensors, this extension, all that stuff becomes the same. So now, what are we going to do? You know, what are we going to do with that? Those are some beefy arms, by the way. I kind of want to de-beef them. If you need to do that, remember, it's a really cool trick is you just go back and forth like this. And look at that. De-beefed. Back and forth, back and forth. Cool. Alright, what are we going to do with something like this? I don't know. We got to figure that one out. Let's see what we come up with in the next tutorial.